detained here as a member of the press? Am I being detained?
It's mandated.
All right, hurry it up. It's time for my coffee break. All right, sit down.
You will be door-knocked. You will be visited.
Can't you see this guy's crazy?
Come on.
Lockdown. That's when it all started. The whole thing seemed a global control test for the future of society, and I wanted no part of it. Subconsciously, I needed a plan to escape. So I sold my car and bought the cheapest adventure bike I could find, a KLR 650. It was 30 years since I owned my last adventure bike back in South Africa. I had lived in a police state, and now I was living in one again. I not only wanted my body to escape this global experiment, but I wanted to free my mind. It feels like we're living in an inverted reality, with the powers that are drawing us into the matrix, the vortex of future medical controls and the planned 15-minute cities. Back in 2012, I had written a few children's books predicting the future, from 1984 Style Authority to the War on Humanity's Freedoms. I was now living in a nightmare that had infiltrated my dreams over a decade ago. I never believed that I'd now be boxed and restrained in a beta test for the future and subject to a project that will control and limit every aspect of our lives. I even foretold what happened in 2020 and 21, and that it would advance the New World Order in a global dictatorship. I resented being part of a global experiment and subconsciously needed to escape. Nothing holds a sense of logic anymore. Governments plan to impose severe carbon emission reductions, yet simultaneously they all support the war machine, the biggest emitters of all. It feels like we've been duped, and while the Davos crowd are shuttling across the world in private jets, I wondered back whether I'd ever be able to fly again. To escape from my little box on the hillside and into remote country is a bliss. On a motorcycle, you are connected to every mile you ride. It's hypnotic, and there's nothing but the wind in your ears and the company of your thoughts. It seems like there's a war on humanity. Everything imposed on us is supposedly for our good or to keep us safe, yet the power structures are intent destroying anything good and natural, disrupting the family, promoting food that makes us sick, collecting our data and contaminating our minds. Hour after hour, I'm contemplating this journey on Earth and trying to make sense of my reality. So much we're told in the mainstream is a lie, and anything suspiciously truthful that goes against the government narrative is labelled as a conspiracy. But now so many conspiracies have been proven true, and I've reported some of these on my news blog, Gumshoe News. It seems like we're being run by madmen, but let me explain. It was when travelling to South Australia and looking at up the blue sky that I thought of Operation Fishbowl. When I immigrated to Australia in the late 90s, I became more conscious of the hole in the ozone layer, allegedly caused by refrigerants. But I'd always wondered why the hole was down in the southern hemisphere when most of the fridges spewing out CFCs were in the northern hemisphere. But it seems we are being run by madmen. But imagine trying to blow a hole in our ionosphere. The US military did multiple high-altitude nuclear tests in 1958. They wanted to investigate the electromagnetic pulse generated and the aurora associated with high-altitude nuclear explosions. They did a lot of tests, but on 9 July 1962, these madmen conducted a big one, in the belief that the Van Halen belts could be blown away. The high-altitude test was codenamed Starfish Prime. They say it was 1,000 times that of the size of Hiroshima, 400 kilometers above Earth. Hydrogen and O3. The result, of course, was blowing a hole in the ozone layer, which would take centuries to replace. And they always cover their destruction with a lie. The explosion of the hydrogen bomb was seen across the Pacific Ocean from Hawaii to New Zealand. In Honolulu, the explosions were front-page news, with reports saying, "End blast tonight may be dazzling." It was Bill Hartley, a scientist based on New Zealand's west coast, who came up with the theory that Starfish Prime had caused the hole in the ozone layer, the powerful light activating massive release of chlorine. He witnessed the 1962 blast from Westport, New Zealand, when he was only 12 years old. He said the light show was something unearthly and huge, and he joined the dots later in the 1980s when he became a scientist. This is power in the hands of irresponsible lunatics.
And that ended this whole series of atmospheric testing by the United States, when in 1963 we entered the Limited Test Ban Treaty that prohibits any atmospheric testing.
In the next episode, I head to New South Wales to interview an old spy who had read all the intel documents on the assassination of JFK, and then return to the Victorian Alpine country.
The very last day of Eisenhower in government, he gave that famous speech about warning the people about the military-industrial complex picked up by JFK.
If you enjoy this, leave a comment and subscribe, and let me know if this format is exciting for you.